guys, it is Tristan with Nerduts Newsstand, and we are going to extend upon the trial coverage we have thus far and talk about what has happened today. We actually have two major things that happen without the jury even being there. One good for Johnny, one really good for Johnny, to be honest with you, and the other is a doxing attempt by both Amber's team and, of course, the New York Post. I'm not going to show those names. I don't think those people deserve to have their names out there, but the New York Post has no problem doing so. I also want to talk about who we are going to have up next week, because it does look like it's going to be a star-studded week. It absolutely is. For sure, Sean Bett, the security manager for Johnny, is up on Monday, but it does look like also next week sometime we will have Paul Bettany, and you know, we're going to have to go into the text. We're going to have to deal with that depending on whether or not the judge decides to allow them to be admissible. And it also looks like there is a pretty dang good chance WebLink is going to have Elon Musk, James Franco, and Ellen Barkin all next week. So it should be very, very interesting for sure. But I want to show you one thing first before we go into the New York Post doxing via Amber Heard, and that is a court document that was filed today, and that is wonderful. We did talk about this during stream, and there was a moment on the first day of actual court, so the day after jury selection, and that was basically Eve Barlow passing notes, right? We saw it happen. Every time the court would go to recess, we would see Eve Barlow and Amber having conversations, sitting together. And if you don't know who Eve Barlow is, she is a friend of Amber Heard, and she is supposedly a journalist. I'm not convinced by the work I've seen that she has done thus far, but Eve is a stan basically for Amber on Twitter. If you're on that social media platform, you'll be more familiar. But as of right now, she has been taken out of the courtroom. Oh no. We're all so sad, right? Right, okay. But this leads me to a more serious conversation, because not only has she been ordered by Judge Penny Ascarte to be removed, so have all Johnny's supporters. And that's what really irritates me when it comes to this situation. Let's switch over. I am going to show the article. I implore you not to go look at it, just because, I mean, obviously you can make up your own mind, but I'm talking about not only giving them clicks, but giving them this doxing attempt that they did. And there is no way that I believe, and I want to put this out here before we even talk about this, that they got this information themselves. There is no possible rhyme or reason why they would have this information unless it was fed to them through a certain lady's lawyers. And that's my guess, is maybe not even the lawyers, but Eve possibly fed them this information. Again, speculation on my part. That is my opinion. If you have a different one, let me know down below. And of course, if you're interested in following this trial next week, you make sure you guys subscribe, hit like, all that fun stuff. We're going to be here likely with what I just learned for next week, probably every day, probably absolutely going to be here Monday. I'll get that link up probably Sunday night. And I will also have a more nerd-related news stream on Sunday, where we'll go over all the stuff that we missed this week, the big changes that are coming to DC Comics and DC Entertainment as a whole. So we're going to go over all of that. But let's talk about this. So when you're young, as these people were in this, the fans of Johnny, you make dumb mistakes. I've made way worse mistakes as a child. Not being disrespectful, but as a young person than these two in this have. Now, basically, what was said was some threats towards Amber. One was actually not even towards Amber. The other threat was towards Amber's father, who had threatened a shotgun on Johnny. So that threat wasn't even, it didn't even make sense, right? So what this caused was these two people to be taken out of the courtroom in front of everybody, questioned by the police, and basically any fan is barred from actually being in the courtroom from here on out. Now, I know there was a lot of supporters in there. One of our very own here on YouTube, Darth News, was there, and he's done some videos about it, and I think it is so cool that he was actually able to go in there and get it and get some shots and get, to be there for a little bit before everything was barred. But this whole situation is ridiculous. Now, I'm actually going to remove the article because I don't want to necessarily dox anyone, right? But the New York Post has no problem doing that. So, two super fans basically called Amber, "I see you next Tuesday. Again, tell me where's the lie," and a liar, and were booted from this defamation trial after authorities discovered they allegedly, because these are screenshots, and screenshots can be faked. Though I do know that I believe at least one has said, yeah, that was me. It was 6 years ago. I was dumb, right? Like, we all make dumb mistakes, and I'm sorry for it. I didn't mean it now. And the tweet is gone. The tweet has been gone. Meaning they knew what they said was dumb, right? But she must have a file, which is not, I guess, is a little surprising. It means if you're in this community, she likely has some information on you. So just be careful and think about that. But, and basically, the two were identified. They have their full names in here. I am not going to say it. Among the dozen supporters in the gallery this week, they were escorted out of the courthouse by 4 guards on Thursday, and they were told they were barred from entering. And the reason for that is, one, this was dumb. Again, I know this person said that what they said was dumb, and they wish they wouldn't have said it. It's gone. It's from 2016, okay? 6 years ago. I can't wait for the day that I end. We'll just put the word end in there because you can't see anyway. Again, I don't want to dox anybody. Amber Heard. This is gone. Gone. Not on her timeline. Dumb thing to say. I want to make sure I make this clear. Do not do stuff like this. But this person knew they were wrong and deleted it. And then it comes to find out that they likely have a file on you if you are following this hashtag, following this community. The other one says, "Dear Miss Heard, I may be a small, petite little girl, but I am a former ballet dancer. My legs are strong enough to break your face." Or, "Dear, I am so sorry. I need to start this over because it's not Dear Mrs. Heard," right? And that's where they're making the mess up here. "Dear Mr. Heard, Amber Heard's father," right? When he threatened JD with a shotgun. I also have a large collection of pointy shoes that when swung around are amazing nunchucks. That's amazing. That's amazing. Threaten Johnny Depp again and you'll see what I mean. Again, not a threat towards her. Not a threat towards her. Just a dumb thing to say, right? And they actually, they show more recent ones from a couple days ago talking about my favorite interaction. I'm sorry, this one's really good. My favorite interaction was one of the times Johnny turned around to look at Amber's lawyer like, "Is this bitch serious?" And Ben gently puts his hand on his shoulder and turns around and back, just says, "No, child." Like, I love that. That's such a good tweet. But to dox supporters and then get them banned is ridiculous. And I'm sorry I didn't actually show you them. Again, I don't want to take part in doxing anybody. But New York Post has no problem doing so, stating their first full name, their first full last name, or their last name, I said first. They have no problem whatsoever doxing people. So that's where Amber's side lies. No problem doxing young supporters of JD. Yep. You're the good guys though, right? Okay. All right. Let me know, of course, what you guys think about all of this, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.